Hi everyone. Welcome to the grand finals of the Inter Asasi debate competition. Congratulations to both teams for making it to the grand finals. Uh, my name is Benjamin. I'll be the chair for this debate, and pending alongside me is Catherine, Guraf, Hafiz, Aliyah, Rashvin, and Warda. So yeah, without further ado, on motion that this house regrets the rise of social media as the primary source of news, this house like to invite the Prime Minister to start the debate. Here.
Before I start, can I know if I'm audible? Yes.
Yep, you're audible.
Okay. So, I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the world today, social media is a rising platform where many people are using it to get news, or like it is becoming the primary source of news today. We believe that it's very dangerous to use social media as a platform to disperse information or to disperse news. We believe that there are many tangible harms that would exist, which will be further elaborated in my speech today. So, several things I would do as the Prime Minister of today's debate. Firstly, I would characterize the motion. Secondly, tell you what is going on in the status quo. And thirdly, provide the burden of proofs that all both sides have to prove. And fourth, use several forms of substantive under the idea of how using social media as a primary source of news is going to create a problem of fake news and so on, which is very problematic to the society. Now, let's move on to my first task, the characterization. So, what does having social media as the primary source of news mean? It means that people are getting news from social media. It means that they are not using the primary news outlet to get information, but rather they use social media to get update on what is currently happening. We feel that social media is a platform that where individuals can post with these users of the social media can post whatever they want. There's no distinction from authentic news and in normal uses when you use social media. For example, Twitter accounts, you can create Twitter accounts with the heading or logos of is an authentic news source and so on. We think that are it's very difficult to distinct these two sources. No, thank you. So what is happening in status quo? Firstly, we believe that there are many people using social media to get news. They get news from social media as in they just look at this information coming from random accounts or like these inauthentic accounts. They just look at videos and get news of what is going on. For example, people recording the situation in Russia and Ukraine or what's happening in Israel and Palestine. They get their own information through these platforms, which is not authentic and not true. And secondly, what is also happening in status quo, that there are news outlet using social media to spread their information. For example, they just put the headings because they want to garner attention of the people and they want to spread this news quickly without putting up full explanation or elaboration or the full article on social media. So we regret both of these things. What we don't regret is social media posting links towards their article or their official website where people can read, because if you do these sort of things, people are reading people are not using social media as the primary source of news, but rather they use media to get to the official website, to get to the links that post the full article coming from an authentic source. So we believe that this is the things that we support. We regret social media being used as a platform for people to get information instantly without any form of verification or authentication. But before that, any of your eyes?
Yes. What is a problem if they use the social media to bring them to a official news? That is not a problem.
Yeah, on our side, we said that when you use links from social media, you are not using social media as a primary source of news, but rather you are using the main article, which is the true information. You're not reading information from headlines on social media, but rather you are reading the main article which has full elaboration. That is what we support. We don't support social media just posting up headlines or like people looking at random videos. Oh, this is what the situation in Russia, this is what the situation is in Israel, just from random accounts posting videos on TikToks or in Twitter. This is the thing that we do not support. But if you post links that lead to the official website, you are not getting information from social media, but rather you are getting information from the official website, which has full elaboration of what is currently happening in status quo. Do understand the distinction from reading information from social media and also using social media to get to the official article, which posts the actual information that is relevant to this status quo. Now, moving on to my argument. We think that when you use social media as a platform to disperse your information or like to get information, it's very problematic. Because why? Social media, like for example, Twitter or TikToks are full of content that are posted by people on or users of those social media accounts, social media. For example, anyone can post anything on these accounts. They can post videos of TikToks just by creating a random account in only 3 seconds. We think that these are platforms, or these open up avenues for people to spread false information at the end of the day. There are no check and balances. You can just post videos of people suffering and say, oh, these are Palestinians attacking the Israelis. We can just post people sitting in a house and say, oh, this is what happening in Russia and or in Ukraine, and like they're not attacking. These are the false things that are being spread out on social media. And when you use social media to get these forms of information, to get this news, people are going to get the wrong idea of what is currently happening in today's world. Now, second level of analysis, what is fake news is definitely going to happen. Firstly, because technology to manipulate media is already existing. There are many examples of manipulation where people post the current status of COVID with the Ministry of Health logo saying, oh, COVID is not COVID cases is zero, and people now can go out and do whatever they want. The borders have been opened up. This sort of fake news has been posted many times through social media accounts, through TikToks, through Twitter, and we believe that many people are getting the false information when they believe these sort of things. Because of the existence of technology to manipulate or like edit videos or like post infographics that has the official logo. There's very hard distinction to identify what is true and what is false when you look at social media. It is very different when you look at the official website, where there are check and balances that you cannot do, that normal users cannot post on this website. Therefore, it creates a very large distinction between real news and fake news. So on the third level of analysis, people can also make simplifications of what is happening and post it on social media. They say that, oh, this is what is happening on social media, and it's not actually true, and people would simply get the example and get the wrong idea. So what are the harms of this sort of things happening? Firstly, it creates the wrong societal perception towards the current status quo. For example, if you create a wrong ideology of fake news regarding actual issues of people suffering, of war, of a political conflict, you are going to create a wrong societal perception towards these sort of issues. You would take the wrong side, and it's going to create a massive chaos, and where people would undermine the real situation and come to their own conclusion. We believe that when the societal perception affects on a very large scale, because why? Social media is being used globally. We can say that everyone who owns a smartphone now has access to social media. Is going to affect people globally getting the wrong idea of what is happening in the status quo. Is very problematic because it's going to create a very wrong societal perception towards this issue, and it's going to create major harm because it's going to create worse dispute. People are not going to agree with what is true and what is false, because they don't know what is the true information or what is truly happening in this status quo. We believe that the harms of spreading fake news is very problematic, and here on the government side, we are going to mitigate its harm. Go with the government side. Thank you.
Okay, this has like thank the Prime Minister for his speech. I'd like to invite the Leader of Opposition to start the opposition debate. You're here.
Thank you. I would just like to check if I'm audible.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. A few rebuttals to start off this speech towards the Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister says that in this status quo today, people are getting news from social media outlets, and the Prime Minister also said that they are not taking the news or getting the news from primary news outlet, but the Prime Minister did not actually clarify what the primary news outlet are being stated. And ladies and gentlemen, we believe that in today's debate, in today's world, social media can be a primary source of news. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister also talk about people can create fake account. I would like to POI that point just now, but he rejected it. But our response to this is that we say that in social media, we have verified check. We have verified buttons to determine which account is fake and which account is true. So this point totally falls to the ground because we can already determine with technology which account is actually credible, ladies and gentlemen. The Prime Minister also created a big fuss about when people put links on social media and then go towards and credible article. We believe that this is not a problem because the social media is the one that leads them to the article or the official website. We believe when the spreading is used by social media, the use of social media is seen to be beneficial. People know that when they spread news on social media, it is good that people will click on the links, and we see that there is no problem in leading them into a credible article because the use of social media is involved. Ladies and gentlemen, the model coming from the opposition side, the first model is that we agree that there are fake news on social media, ladies and gentlemen. But you have to note two things. The first thing, fake news does not only occurs in social media, it also occurs in commercial news. Why do we say this? Because news is controlled by the government. In the long run, ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem. In commercial news, there are already fake news because in the commercial news, such as the news that we will watch at TV3 or RTM, it is all owned by the government, ladies and gentlemen. And this point will be further elaborated by my other speakers. And second reason why it is okay, why there are, well, although we agree that there are fake news in social media, second reason is that online platforms has a tons of technology to block fake news. For example, we have the technology of blockchains. So I will demonstrate how it works. For example, when a person decided to post a story or a status in WhatsApp or Instagram and they put the word COVID or they put the word vaccine, then this blockchain technology will automatically detect the word and will provide the a reminder to all the viewers that they can click to view more credible information. So these types of technology that we have in social media is good to determine which one is fake news and which one is credible news, ladies and gentlemen. The burden of proof from the opposition is that we will be giving the most benefit to the people, and the burden of proof that must be proven by the government is that social media would worsen the spread of news in the society. Ladies and gentlemen, we look at the picture of the status quo. Nowadays, people and companies are already using social media to spread news, and we believe that this status quo is a good status quo, and we can and we must make it as a primary source of news. So why is it true that social media can be made as a primary source of news? Three level of analysis. First reason why is it true is that a lot of people and everyone is actually on social media nowadays. Everyone owns an FB account, everyone owns an IG account nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. The government cannot talk about the minority people in the rural areas that do not have social media reach, but ladies and gentlemen, we all know that social media reach is with everyone today. And the second reason why this is true, because as we stated before, there are already verified news companies that provide news to people via online. Ladies and gentlemen, companies such as NST, BH, they are providing news in the social media, ladies and gentlemen. They do not print out newspapers nowadays because they believe that everyone have social media. So this proves that social media does work because this news company already uses this platform, ladies and gentlemen. So why is it good? The second level of analysis. Why is it good that social media can be used as a primary source of news? First reason, because it is fast. Ladies and gentlemen, people need to get news faster nowadays. Second reason, it has no limits or boundaries. And ladies and gentlemen, why is it important that social media have no limits or boundaries? Because we can know news from all around the world. Not only news that is happening currently in our jurisdiction, but also what is happening in the entire world, ladies and gentlemen. And last but not least, why is it good? It's because it creates awareness, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it important that social media is made the news is made primary on social media? First, because news needs urgency. And ladies and gentlemen, that makes me move on to my argument, which is news on social media creates a faster response. Three level of analysis. First level of analysis, why is it true that social media creates a faster response? The first reason is that news in social media spreads fast. Ladies and gentlemen, for example, a news about natural disaster needs to spread fast. For example, news of earthquake, news of floods needs to spread urgently because everyone needs to know the news very fast because they can take action, ladies and gentlemen. Second reason why is it true is because of viral power. In social media, we have viral power. For example, in Twitter, we have a trending button or a trending section where people can know what news are trending right now, and if it's important, such as an earthquake, they can be ready to face the natural disaster. So second level of analysis, why is it good that we have a faster response when news are in social media. Ladies and gentlemen, the first reason why is it good is that faster response create faster action. And a faster action is the burden that the people are facing because of a certain situation that they are in. And also, another illustration would be for volunteers to provide help when they know this news that is happening faster, ladies and gentlemen. And it also lessens the casualties that happens, because when people get faster response, they can take faster action. And when they can take faster action, less casualties will be caused, because they can take immediate action because they know the news faster through social media. So why does this not happen? Fast news does not happen in the government side of the world, because people are still watching the news on 8 a.m. or 1:30. This means that they have to wait for the news, and it is not urgent. We believe that news should be urgent, and because of that, the opposition is proud to oppose. Thank you very much.
Okay, this house thanks the Leader of Opposition for the speech. I'd like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
First of all, can I check if I'm audible?
Yeah, you are.
Right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Side opposition has to realize the actual harms that actually come from using social media as the primary source of news. And this is what the debate is about today. So in this debate, what I'm going to do as Deputy Prime Minister is, first of all, provide my rebuttals towards the Leader of Opposition, and next, provide my arguments as to prove why social media should not be the primary source of news and why it's so harmful, which is my first argument, will be on the idea of journalism will be tarnished, and secondly, on the role of social media as a whole. So first of all, to start with my rebuttals to the Leader of Opposition. When he talked about verified checks and verified accounts on social media platforms, if you want to go technical, so can we. If you want to go technical, hacking can happen, and verification is not necessarily the standing point for you to determine whether something is really established or not. If these verified accounts still post just a video with one-liner sentences or headlines that can still confuse people, this is still considered the wrong way to spread news quickly. This is still considered not the best way to actually spread news. Even if these accounts are verified, if they still spread things that can actually instill misinterpretation in others, this is where we think it's wrong, and this is why the motion is debatable today. Secondly, regarding about fake news also occurs in commercial news, I would like to remind you that that is not the debate today. Sure, we understand that fake news happens in commercial news, in social media, and business social media, or in even websites as a whole. But that is not the debate. We're not debating on how to solve fake news in these news outlets, or how social media can actually manage fake news. That's not the debate. What we want to prove here is that with the rise of social media as being the primary source of news, this fake news can actually stem from it. And why it's so harmful is because there is actually a way to prevent this. However, we are not doing it. Next, regarding the issue on blockchains, sure, we understand that there is technology and whatever you came up with blockchains does exist, but it is very problematic, and we can see that it's actually not working. Why? Because in current status quo, you still see fake news happening everywhere. You still see fake news going around social media despite having blockchains. If you were to have a blockchain for every single issue at hand, are you just telling me that you're just going to shut off all information you're going to shut off all information just on the mere basis that you want to block this information from spreading? You can't really block information. Some information will still pass despite having these technical blockchains. Next, regarding how social media's reach is very large. Yes, we consider the fact that social media's reach is very large. Almost everybody has social media. That is something we cannot refuse on. However, this is harmful. And why? This is because anybody and everybody has access to social media. Because of this, because everybody has access to social media, everybody has the right to be open to their own interpretation. And why is this so harmful? When they're open to their own interpretation, this is what actually leads to misinterpretation, because they're able to interpret certain videos, certain headlines, or certain one-liner sentences based on whatever they think is right, or based on whatever they think is no, sorry. They kept on, even if you come up and say that people have a rational consensus or people can think rationally, that is not the case here. We believe that if you show something, like my prime minister said just now, if you show something like a video that basically depicts something so simple, people can twist it in another way, people can think of it differently, and this is where it's harmful because it actually leads to fake news. Next, we to be on side government, we would like to reinstate that we're not saying that we don't want social media to completely be devoid of news. What we want is we want you to realize that social media should not be the primary source of news when it comes to the spreading of news, because we believe that we prefer people to actually go to official websites to act as the primary source of news. We do not want them to refer to social media as the main port for them to think of certain news. For example, if they see a video of maybe about a conflict in Ukraine and Russia, they see a video and they think that, oh, this is what's actually happening, so I believe this is right. That's not the case here. What we want is for them to actually go to these official websites, for example, www.bbc.com, to actually go through the truth. Basically, what we underside government, what we want you to realize is that we still believe that sending the links or sharing links via social media of these news outlets is the right way to go, and that's not what we're opposing to here. What we're opposing to is that these news outlets using social media as the way for them to send the most simplified version of news possible, for them to just post one-liners, for them to post videos here and such, just to share that information. And last but not least, when he gave the line of the faster the news, the faster the action, we believe that statement and the tool of social media is actually a double-edged sword. Why is this true? Because sure, you see that there's faster action, but what is the actual action that you're saying is fast? There's no actual benefit that comes from this fast action, but all you're doing is saying that, oh, you just want this information to be spread faster. However, if this information is spread faster, but it's not necessarily true, not necessarily factual, but based on self-interpretation, we don't think that that's the best case here, and we don't think that that's a risk that we should be willing to take. Now, first of all, starting with my arguments on how it tarnishes the idea of journalism. So what is the actual idea of journalism? Journalism is when you gather or present news and you get reliable info and you put it out to the public. You get reliable info and you have analysis, then you put it out to the public. So what happens when social media is made the public source of news? So these journalists can just post any bit of information they find, for example, video clips, pictures, headlines, or even short one-liner summaries without an actual article or without an actual analysis towards the actual news. So what does this bring? This becomes an informal way to spread news or information, and there is no actual formal form of writing, such as via articles or via reports and such. So what happens when it is an informal way of spreading news? So what harm can this actually lead to? So because of this, we know that news outlets are known to actually report or to actually post formal starts of news. For example, they post it with actual analysis and factual research. But because they post something so simple, for example, they post something so simple as like a video or a simple headline, it can be misinterpreted so simply by people. And what are the harms of this? What are the actual harms of people misinterpreting these videos and short liners? Well, when this happens, when it's open to self-interpretation, it could actually lead to more backlash when people think of it wrongly. Okay, let's just simplify it like this. When people think of a certain news wrongly, like they have their own self-interpretation, but the news is actually turned out to be false. This is where the public trust can actually be harmed, because they think that whatever these journalists have shared is wrong, even if whatever what we're saying here is that because of all of this simplified news being shared without any credible source of research, it becomes easy for people to just misinterpret it and take it into fake news easily. And last but not least, analysis on regarding the role of social media. It is not in the best interest of social media to provide true news, to provide actual formal forms of news that could actually lead to people taking knowing the actual truth behind things. It is the best interest of social media for communication and to keep people in touch. So because of this, it's so easy for these news outlets to just spread whatever they want, or for people to for certain accounts to just post whatever videos, whatever news, whatever opinions they have, even though these aren't false or they're just personal interpretations. When this happens, people can be influenced, even if opposition comes up and says that people have a rational consensus. I don't think that's the case today, which is why status quo is still failing. And with that, I have a very proud to propose.
Okay, this House like to thank the Deputy Prime Minister for his speech. We'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
I will start my speech soon.
Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Now, moving on to rebutting the points that were rebutted by the Deputy Prime Minister towards my first speaker on the technicality that hacking can happen. We do agree, hacking does happen, but we are here to say that hacking online news account is unlikely to happen, because the way social media works is that the moment an account is hacked, you can immediately and instantly create a new account, which is why hacking is unlikely to happen, because it is useless and it is it does nothing, it brings nothing. However, hacking can also happen to TV broadcasts, where if a TV broadcast has been hacked, then that the immediate effect of it would be very, very detrimental, because they can't just make up an immediately new TV broadcast, unlike social media accounts. Next, on the problems regarding blockchains. They are here to say that blockchains are problematic because it is not 100% accurate, or it doesn't 100% solve the problem. We do agree. Not 100%, 100% true news can never be achieved. All right, we acknowledge that. But the most important thing about having blockchains is that the most fakest and the most detrimental, dangerous news can be immediately removed through blockchains. And this is thanks to the algorithm that the blockchains have. So the most dangerous ones can be immediately removed, and majority of fake news can be removed, even if it isn't 100%. Secondly, on blockchains, at least social medias have blockchains, right? Blockchains do not exist in TV. So if a TV news were to broadcast fake news, which they do because of government propaganda, then there's no type of incentive to avoid this or to correct this. Secondly, the DPM talks about the division of opinions, about polarity. Well, we're here to say that why would you prefer undemocratized news that is one-sided and government propagated, as compared to a news that has multiple opinions, where you can analyze all the perspective and come to a conclusion yourself? Sure, not everyone is going to come to the correct conclusion, but majority will, because a lot of people people aren't stupid. People who are on social media, you can't take them as the most gullible humans on earth. That's not what they are. But you know who are the most gullible? The people who only subscribe to TV Box News, that provides one-sided perspective. Next, on the matter of fast news, not yet. On the matter of being a fast news and fast action being a double-edged sword, this is not true, because the moment that a fake news is delivered on social media, people can correct that news just as fast. So this is the thing with fastest news, faster response, is that even if someone were to say something untrue, then you could immediately correct it because of the speed of it. Accepted, POI. Okay, never mind.
Social media removes the distinction between authentic news and fake news. How do you cater towards that problem?
Sorry, repeat.
Social media removes the distinction between authentic news and fake news.
All right.
How do you
so my
cater
leader of
towards
opposition has already talked about how there are verified accounts that can actually verify true news. You can't argue that every single the line between authenticity and fakeness is completely removed. All right. Okay. So some of the points that were brought up by DPM, how TV news actually provides reliable info. This is incorrect, because we know that in most cases, TV news such as Fox News or BBC are actually government controlled, especially in Russia, where they provide fake news to their citizens about the war. Secondly, having one-liner news can be easily interpreted, and how that is dangerous. First of all, we do agree one-liner news are very dangerous, but they don't really take a great effect onto society. Why? Because people are less likely to believe one-liners as opposed to an entire article or threads on Twitter that explains every single point of a statement that they choose. For example, if someone were to tweet, World War III has started, would you rather believe that, or would you rather believe something that has threads and examples and elaborations? Now, move on to my claim. Why do we oppose the motion? Because we want a democratized news. What we mean by this is that it's not government propagated, and TV news are government propagated because government have control over news, because they provide the license for these TV news and these broadcasters to work in the first place. Government also have control to the political because of their political affiliations, such as the Fox News controlling the news on Israel and Palestine, because of the heavily US-backed Israel, and how the tax-based money of the US citizens actually helped the Israeli army. Oh. All right. So why is this so good? Why is democratized news good? Firstly, because there is no filter, and this is done so by citizen journalism. So to rebut the point that was not really elaborated by the DPM, journalism is not going to die off. There will still be journalism. However, it will be by the people who are the most affected that can give their most authentic reaction and comment, which means that the people who are directly and actually affected can immediately give their response and opinions on the news that is happening. Secondly, democratized news gives the freedom to thought. It protects the freedom to thought and is a fundamental right, where propaganda and TV news directly violates it. And another thing is that people are also able to see news from all sides and see the bigger picture. If you are used to news that, let's say, that paints Israel as the Palestinian conflict as necessary, then because of democratized news, you are able to think otherwise. Why is it so important? Because it brings more attention to issues that have been kept hidden for so long, such as how, again, sorry for bringing this up completely, but how the Palestinian and Israel conflict was only brought to a bigger was only brought to light better because of Twitter. We are also able to utilize our decision-making skills, and people are actually able to evaluate their news and their opinions better, making them smarter. Next is because then support for certain news can never be biased. For example, if TV news were to give one-sided perspective, then these citizens will be able to understand all sides, and no matter what their opinion is, because they've read and they've understood all perspective, even if it's not the majority's opinion that they hold, it will still be unbiased. Now, my second game is because we want because social media spreads a wider awareness. Why is this true? Because as my first leader, my first speaker said, because everyone is on social media and internet is easily accessible. Because and for the people who cannot access internet, they are also unable to access TV. So these people are irrelevant and they are not the stakeholders in this debate. Unfortunately, that marks the end of my debate. Thank you.
Yeah, this House thanks the Deputy Prime Minister, Deputy Leader of Opposition for that speech. I'd like to invite the Gov Whip and the Gov Substantive speeches. Here. Gov Whip.
Wait, before I start, can I know if I'm audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think it's clear to see which side actually understands the true motion and what the debate is all about. But before I start my speech, I as the government whip will be doing a few things for you today. Firstly, I'll be stating my clashes, and I will be stating my rebuttals, but I will be integrating them into my clashes. So on to my clashes. I'll be stating my clashes into three main clashes. Firstly, which side is more harmful in the long run? Secondly, which side is more effective in providing more reliable news to the public? And lastly, the dire need to avoid using social media as a primary source of news. So firstly, which side is more harmful in the long run? Let's take a look. Let's compare both paradigms, right? So your side has been talking about how, you've been talking about how by using verified buttons, that this will actually ensure that the information, the news that's been spread by social media is actually verified and can be trusted. However, we believe that you have not considered the fact that you constantly talk about blocking these blocking mechanisms and such. But however, let me give you an example. For example, there is a comedy account on Instagram that is verified, and they choose to post a video about Ukraine and Russia, a video about people in Ukraine or Russia that are facing this under the conflict. And would you say that and let's say their account is verified, would you say that we can trust this account? Would you say that this is verified information? No, we believe that what the opposition side has been saying is not justified, and they haven't proven how this verified buttons would work in the long run. So we believe that this is not they lack justifications on this. Next, so they're talking about how people. Okay, so how is this? How is the opposition side more harmful, right, in the long run? Sure, they talk about how faster awareness creates faster action and more discourse, more discussions and such. And they talk about how you're basically saying that sure, by spreading information faster through social media, that there'll be more awareness. Faster action, faster awareness creates faster action. However, we believe that what's the point of spreading awareness quickly, being super fast and then have if it's untrue, and sure, even if you have discourse, we believe that even if you have discourse, we believe that it's more important to have discourse based on reliable information. Based on these articles that are reliable resources, such as the articles that you can be found from credible sources, not simply just from social media. Okay, so we believe that this is harmful, as stated by my prime minister in the beginning. We believe that this is harmful in the long run because the societal perception, what will happen to the societal perception on your paradigm. We believe that this could actually lead to more chaos in the long run because sure, it seems like a minuscule impact. However, we believe that the long-term impact, the larger impact is that the societal perception will lead to chaos, will lead to riots because of the misinformation and misinterpretation. We believe that this is extremely harmful. Compared to outside, no, thank you. Compared to outside, they actually doesn't want to use social media as the primary source of news. And also our side, we're not saying that we're not denying that social media is a source of news. We are simply saying that we do not want social media to be the primary source of news because we want to ensure that this news is reliable and credible. We acknowledge the fact that social media can be a useful tool in spreading information. However, we believe that it should not be the primary source of news, and we believe that filtering this information is essential. Which is why we believe that credible sources are necessary, such as the articles and such. Okay. So secondly, which side is more effective in providing news to the public? Is more effective and more reliable in providing news to the public? So we believe that on our side, okay, comparing both sides, sure, you talk about your side simply talks. It's not okay. Your side talks about speed and awareness and fast action. But however, like I've mentioned before, we believe that spreading news quickly and having discourse, sure, it could be effective. However, we believe that having credible sources is more productive in the long run because why? Okay, sure, you're actually taking more time on your side because you're spreading false information that's not credible, and then you're having more you're having discourse. But however, we believe that it's more productive to simply just get this information from more credible sources from the very get-go. Okay, thirdly, for my third clash, the DAI need to avoid using social media as the primary source of news. Firstly, your side hasn't proven to us why is there such a your side hasn't proven to us why is there such a dire need to use social media as a primary source. Okay, sure, you've talked about fast spreading of information and fast awareness, but let's look at the status quo that we've been pushing on today. We have to realize that people have the tendency to believe everything that they see on social media. And like I've mentioned before, we can't really trust those verification buttons that we put on social media platforms. And we believe that this is harmful in the long run because we cannot assume that everyone has a rational calculus and is able. Sure, you can have discourse, but even so, even if you have discourse and discussions, you cannot assume that everyone has the rational calculus and is able to distinguish wrong from right through these discussions too. So we believe that it should be a responsible thing to do to avoid using social media as a primary source of news. So if you wish to live in a world that actually understands the importance of not using social media as a primary source of news and using credible sources as a primary source of news, then side with side government, because we truly understand that the long term impacts to society as a whole, as it can impact the public perception. And with that, I've been proud to propose.
Okay, this house like to thank the Garfoot for the speech. I'd like to invite the output. Here.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Thank you. I start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, let me paint you a situation. So if there is a flood or an emergency going on and your family is involved in it, would you rather know it late when they already died, which is of course true, or would you rather know it earlier in social media and you could take early actions? So debating on today's motion, this house regret the rise of social media as being the primary source of news. We are opposed to this motion because we believe that our side could provide more benefits to the people and to the society in the end of the day. So as the opposition whip today, I would like to do two things. First, I would like to rebut a few issues coming out from the government side. And second, I will compare the clashes and tell you why today's debate belongs to the opposition side. So moving on to the rebuttals. Firstly, their side talk about how the news stations, they will put headings in their social media just to garner attention. But this doesn't just happen in social media. This happen in printed news. This happen in televisions. Because simply said, it happens in both words, the government's word and the opposition's word. Hence, this analysis have no place into this debate. Moving on. Then they talk about how social medias are used by many people, and they talk about how hence it is dangerous because they could spread fake news. But we believe that this is why that it is good that it is a prime source of information, because we talk about democratized news. We talk about how many people would be able to share, would be able to give their views on the fact, and while other people who are professionalized in the sector would be able to correct them. And hence that is why our point still stands, because there will be discourses that would happen in the social media. Then they talk about how it will create a social perception, and it will create chaos when people have a wrong perception in something. Sorry. But let me ask you a question. Which sides into this debate actually could create more chaos in the end of the day? Ladies and gentlemen, in our world, in our side, people will be able to share their opinions. And like what we have stated, they will be able to have this kind of discourse where they could chat with people who are more professionalized in a sector. And in the end of the day, more people could know what is the wrong thing and what is the right thing. And while in their world, people believe in sugar-coated news, that what I have stated by my deputy leader of opposition. And what if people knows the truth, like what happened in Russia? In the end of the day, it will create more chaos, because initially they believe in this sugar-coated news, but when they know the truth, it will create more chaos rather than in our world, even if it's a fake news. So moving on to the clashes. So two clashes that we found out into this debate. First clash is about credibility. So whether first clash is about credibility, about fake news. Ladies and gentlemen, even if that is portrayed, even news that is portrayed in televisions are sometimes not true at all, like what I have stated by my deputy leader of oppositions, because news corporations are controlled by the government. You could see this in Russia, where the news only portray themselves, the government, as the nice sort of the world, as the hero of the country, where they actually hide the truth, and they sugar-coated the news just so that people would believe in them, and people would still have trust in them, even though they are actually the bad side of the people. And then moving on, in our world, the news are democratized. People will be able to analyze news and eventually come to a conclusion which news are correct and which news are wrong. While in their world, people will just believe in the fame if people will just believe in the picture that the government painted upon them, the propaganda that is spoon-fed to them by the news and the media corporations, which are of course controlled by the government. And the worst case scenario, comparing the worst case scenario in our world. So in our world, the worst case scenario is our people get fake news. But even though we already proved that this still can be curbed, but in their world, they rely on one-sided media, whether not knowing whether other views, not knowing the other views, whether they're true or not. Because and in the end of the day, they will forever have their eyes closed against this fabricated and sugar-coated news, and they will not realize whether it is true or false at all. So moving on to the second clash, whether misinterpretation will happen at all. So so we told you that our speakers told you that this will not likely to happen at all, because we talk about the blockchain system, and while their side actually talk about how the blockchain system will not work, we provided you with a lot of proof of how it will work in the end of the day. But then the government came out and said, oh, this won't work, and then just leave it at that. And hence this point still stands, because they didn't even explain as to why this will not work in the end of the day. And we also talk about how fact checks and how we could actually check a fact when we stumbled upon a news that we are not sure about. So, and we told you that the people that is living in our world is not stupid. So whenever people share something controversial, then we spark discussion, which will spread more awareness, rather than if we are to not let these people share things in the social media. And hence that is why we believe that social media we are not regretting social media as the primary source of news to the people, simply because of these things. And then what have the opposition side stated into this debate? First, we proved to you that when we use this social media, people will have no limit or boundaries, and it could save more time. So, ladies and gentlemen, into this debate, even though we could still curb the fake news issues, but if we are to compare, if we are to see the worst case scenario in our world, where we sacrifice this, where we give the fake news to people, where people actually take fake news, but in the end of the day, we gain time. We could save more time, because like what I have stated, if there's an emergency going on and your family or your loved ones is involved in that situation, would you already know it late when they are already died, which is of course the news are true, or would you already know it earlier from the social media, where you could have done something to save your family so that you could be more happy in the end of the day? Then we also prove to you how when we let the people to talk in social media, share news in social media, we could gain more democratized news, where people would have a lot of people from all over the world, from all edges of the world, would have their own views and opinions, and people could people could realize that what is wrong and what is right in the end of the day, rather than being controlled and being spoon-fed by the government-controlled media, and in the end of the day believe in things that they are not true at all. And hence that is why our side believe that today's motion should be opposed. And that is all from me. I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, this house would like to thank the opposition whip for their speech. I'd like to invite the top reply. Here.
I'll start my speech soon. Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the core issue of today's debate is which method provides the better news. It's our core issue because the aim of this debate is to provide news in the best way possible. Now, how do we, as the opposition, do this? Why do we say that we should not regret social media as the primary source of news, and why it is better? Because faster news is in fact important, because we need immediate action and we need to reach a wider audience. Without this, there is no point in delivering news at all. So the point of so you could even say that the speed of how this news is delivered is prerequisite to who actually to the people who are actually able to know about news. Without speed, there would be no news. Next, on the reliability of news. First of all, government controls news outlets. Even if government, not all news that is broadcasted by TVs are propagated by the government. In the cases where they are and have been repeated multiple times, especially seen in Fox News and BBC News about wars, there's nothing that can be done to it. If we were to regret social media altogether, then all of these fake news that are broadcasted by actual TV broadcasters cannot be corrected, because that is our sole dependency on how we get our news from. There will also be no hidden agendas. If it were to solely come from TV instead of social media, then that would be backed with hidden agendas in order to garner support for a certain political idea, as opposed to the people who are just giving news for the sake of awareness. On their issue of how our site has fake news, we would like to repeat that there are multiple ways to avoid fake news on social media. There's blockchain. People who don't, even when blockchain isn't as effective, people can still correct the news by themselves. And another thing is that on the cases where it is hacked, new accounts can be made easily. Whereas if a broadcast is hacked, then the likeliness of them being able to create another broadcasting TV is very unlikely and impossible. So guess what? What would they resort to anyway? Social media. If we were to regret it completely, then these broadcasters cannot go onto social media and give their news. In fact, the government has agreed that it is important that these websites, actual verified websites like Fox News, CNN, have social media accounts where they do post news. This is relevant. However, if we were to regret social media as the primary source of news, people would not even go to social medias to get news. They would go solely for entertainment. And so the whole point of the TV news, this verified actual news broadcasters posting them on social media, will be utterly useless, because no one would go to these social medias for these very reasons. Now, let's look at the clashes. In terms of accuracy versus speed, our world favors speed. Why? Because on the rare occasion where, let's say, there is fake news and people go out to help, but there's nothing, it is better to waste your energy and time than to waste lives. Whereas in their world, where they only prioritize accuracy, in the occasions where there is dire need of action, people's lives will be wasted, wasted because it is not fast enough. Next, on the matters of news being democratized and the government controlled stations, people will be able to learn, and in the long run, even if there are plurality in the news and there are many different opinions, in the long run, people will be able to learn to interpret these news better, because that's how people will learn, through repeated actions. Whereas if it was solely government dependent, then you can only be able to see one-sided for the rest of your life. Therefore, people will never be able to form their own opinions, and therefore that is a great damage to the human right. Therefore, we believe that in today's debate, opposition wins. Thank you.
Okay, this sounds like the time the opposition reply. Would like to invite the government to end the debate. Here.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The main problem with side opposition today is they have no idea what they actually want in this debate. They have no idea whether they want to actually solve the problem of fake news, or do they want speed and accuracy. They have too many goals that they want to achieve at the end of the day, to the point where everything started mixing up and everything got so confusing, because at one point they were asking for this, but then they wanted another different thing all completely. And I'll prove this why. First of all, I'll prove why opposition has already lost the debate. The sole issue brought up by side government was that social media leads to false news, and that these actual credited websites lead to false news, and that social media has true news. Why? Because there's discourse. See, why is this actually wrong? When the sole fact that the entire case run by opposition was that websites are all government biased, that are all untrue and are all uncredited, but they came up and said that, oh, at least on social media we have discourse, and hence we can prove, and hence it's true. That's not the case. On social media, when you have discourse, it's when people are arguing whether something is right or wrong, and there's no actual accredited website to actually tell you whether it is right or wrong. People are basically just giving their opinions, spewing their opinions, whatever they think fits their narrative best, which is why the discourse happens in the first place. Under your side, you're saying that all of these websites are all untrue, are all government based, are all government biased. But we tell you that that's not true. Why? Because these are all websites that's where actual journalists work at the first place. They're the ones who actually have to research, have to go through the facts, have to actually make articles in the first place. And which is why for you to just come up and say that every single credited news website is false and spreads false news is completely delusional, because you kept on saying that discourse is all of discourse is actually right, social media is way better, it actually provides true news. So another problem, what actually came out with their entire argument on speed, they talked about how we don't care if the news spread is false, at least we have speed, at least we have discourse. So why is this actually counterproductive? First and foremost, it was an entire contradiction on their case, which we got confused on what was the actual angle of opposition, because their first speaker and second speaker talked about how fake news is wrong, this is the problem with fake news, we have this to counter fake news. But suddenly at the end they were like, we have speed, we have accuracy, to hell with fake news, at least we have speed and accuracy. See, the problem is why it's actually counterproductive is because when you have so-called speed, you see that, okay, at least we have speed, and then we have discourse. People can actually discuss whether it's right or wrong. This is actually counterproductive. Why? Because you're wasting more time. You're wasting more time by waiting for these people to have discourse, by waiting for these people to actually come to agreement what is right, what is wrong. But instead, all you can do is actually just check these websites and check whether a fact is credible or not, whether a fact is actually right or wrong, based on articles, based on actual websites. For example, CNN or DCC. So what have we done as side government in this debate? We have actually proven to you the actual harms of fake news and why social media is not supposed to be the primary source of news. We never said that we regret social media completely. We don't want people to refer to social media as the main outlet for them to realize what is actually going on in the world, to realize what is actually happening. We don't want them to know from opinions or perspectives of millions of individuals about a certain issue when that fact is not actually right or wrong. It's just an opinion, or it's misinterpreted by many. This is why we've already proven to you what the actual harms of using social media as the primary source is. We already talked to you about how it actually encourages fake news, how it's more likely to happen under opposition's paradigm, where social media is actually the primary source. We've already talked to you how it actually tarnishes journalism, and how it actually leads how it's not in the best interest of social media to actually provide the truest news possible. What we tell you is that the problem in this debate is that both sides are basically fighting for whether who provides the true news, right? But what I want to remember is that government has already provided enough substantive and enough points and arguments as to why we believe that social media should not be the main source of news spreading. However, opposition didn't even come up with a common goal at the end of the day. They came up with mismatched goals and mismatched arguments that ended up making the case more confusing at the end of the day. And this is what government will do today.
Okay, thank you for the speech, Governor Pai. So yeah, thank you everyone for the amazing debate. So the judges will deliberate, and then you will return for the closing ceremony, and we will announce the results there.